Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with a couple nerds.
I'm Ted.
I'm Ryan.
And today we are going to be reviewing Unearthed Arcana Feats.
If you want to jump down to the description below, you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So finally, at long last, we have more feats to draw from. This has been the glaring, short sight of 5e so far.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a short sighting.
Dude, we came from an era of playing our most serious D&D. The most D&D we've ever played in our life was basically...
It was all about
feats,
the feat trees.
Feat-centric.
Well, I think they moved away from that with feats being an optional system. It's like, look, you can do this or you cannot. It adds a little bit of flavor, it adds a little bit of options. So, like, I feel that they're not going to focus on it because it's not...
I think the majority of people that are playing 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons are playing with feats.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Because it's the closest stopgap between 3rd edition, which a lot of people liked, and that the tightening of rules. Like, 5th edition feels like something between 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons.
There might be some old
and
grognards out there that, have come over from AD&D and are like, no variant human, no feats, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But, I think the majority of us are probably using the optional rules.
It's true, and I'm not saying that
and you guys can weigh in on that discussion.
I'm just saying, with them presenting it as an optional feature, that they're not going to focus on it, and that we had to wait this long to get.
Well, clearly we had to wait this long because we waited this long.
I mean, it was worth the price of admission, right?
So here's the thing. There's some really cool and important things that came out of this Unearthed Arcana, aside from the fact that we got another, 5 or 6 feats. One is, like, Mike Mearls is like, we're not doing feat trees anymore.
Right.
Nerdarchy has already said, we'll do feat trees, right? We're like, whatever, we don't care. If that's how a player wants to spend his resources, let him.
Indeed.
So there's a glaring difference between the Watts design philosophy and Nerdarchy's. Because
I don't think the feat trees should get nearly as deep as they got in 5th edition or 3rd edition. I'm sorry, but I mean, if there's like one bump up, like basically it's a feat tree of 2 versus like you had feat trees of
5
like
or 6.
5 to 7. Feat
I think
trees.
up to 3 is acceptable for this edition.
Yeah.
It's an investment from that character. He wants to do that.
Excel
thing.
at nothing else but doing that sort of thing.
If it fits the character profile or theme, I have no problem with it.
Well, and also too, like, I feel like there could be a thing, like when you did the ritual magic feat design in that blog post. I feel like either you could take Ritual Caster to satisfy the first version of that. It was like Master Ritual Caster or something like that. Or if you already have access to it from a class feature like the Wizard that already gets Ritualist, I feel like that should also satisfy that. So maybe there's just multiple ways to arrive at either a feat or a class feature that you already have.
Well, yeah, that's exactly true. In that instance, the truth of the matter is, it's not a tree unless you don't have access to ritual casting.
Right.
And then and then it becomes a tree, so it's not a big deal. And that's actually like one of the things we kind of agonized over when we talked about doing it, because I think we did a video on it and everything as well. But now on to the actual what we get in here. And
what important people have to say about 5th edition.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
The design philosophy. One of the things I said right away when I looked at this, like I had this like knee-jerk reaction. I'm like, oh my god, the creep's back, right? But then I thought about it a little bit, and I had more sane thoughts, and I was like, wait a minute, okay, so you're gonna get a +1 to hit, right?
Yep.
Actually, that's inferior to actually taking the stat bump.
Right, because it's multiple instances of
yeah.
The stat bump is going to bump your stat up a modifier by 1. So if you're focusing on if you're just looking at the attack, if you're focusing on that primary stat, you're going to get a +1 to hit and damage.
Yeah,
So
it's actually better.
So here you're trading that +1 to damage for some other options.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, now, once you've maxed out your stat, right, at 20, because you can't go any higher, then the power creep kind of happens. And
But it's 1.
It's 1. It's only to attack. but then, like, is it the beginning of a slippery slope? I mean, these are the kind of things, like, I don't care. Like, I'll allow pretty much anything in my game, guys. Like, flying, sure, whatever. At first, I don't care. I hope no one can't sleep on you. You know,
or that you're a barbarian or something. You got the hit points to absorb the fall.
Yeah, but then the other thing is, but you have to kind of like look at like down the road. You know, where is this leading? Like, will there be other things to kind of start adding on to it? And then again, too, it's like 5th edition. They really did put some nice breaks in there that stop this from happening. For instance, even if they add a billion feats that all stack and add +1s or +2s or whatever they add, at the end of the day, you don't get very many feat options. And if you do take those feat options, you're taking them instead of
a bonus to your statistics.
Yeah. And if we're saying, you know, the real creep doesn't happen until you max out that stat, well, now you're looking at a minimum of 1 to 2 stat bumps in order to get maxed out.
Right.
So I think 5th edition does a really good job of putting these things in that stop power creep.
The stopgaps.
Just from, you know, from the way the system's built.
Yeah, well, I mean, and also, too, like, pretty much the design logic with 5th edition, like, if you're getting more than a +1 to hit, like, there's one that kind of breaks that exception, but it's because of the nature of the weapon, but it shouldn't be more than a +1. Like, that's just plain and simple, because the bounded accuracy of the system, the escalation of armor classes is so low that you're going to hit all the toughest monsters. You don't really need ridiculous bonuses.
And you know, you in fact saw that on that the live gameplay you guys did
with the Tarrasque. Right. Yeah, like literally. I mean, I needed to roll, like, if its AC was a 26, I needed to roll a 10+. Like, so.
So like when you've got all of these things going on, it's like, what is the need to keep bumping up that bonus to hit?
Absolutely.
So, with that, maybe we should talk about the feats we've gotten.
So, I was, reading through this. It's like, oh, Weapon Mastery feat and Warhammer Master, and I read it, and I'm like, this is a pretty cruddy thing. And then he goes on to say, well, I don't like this one either.
This is why this is a bad one, and this isn't really one of the feats we're giving you.
So I really like
this is the Rick roll. It's a Rick roll.
Yeah, this is Mike Mearls trolling us.
Never going to. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the way this was written, and you get into fell-handed and blade mastery, flail mastery, spear mastery.
So, although, you know, I kind of feel like blade mastery and fell-handed are like cool names, and like flail mastery and spear mastery are like,
not as cool.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
After Fellhand, the names kind of go downhill. He's like, that's it. You guys get one cool name. That's it.
Yeah. So the workshop.
But what they do is actually kind of cool.
Right, and it gives you a lot of cool combat options. They even say that swords are the more common used thing, so therefore that one has less options. But I do like the parrying option under Blade Master.
Why do you say it has less options?
Like bullet points of capability.
Yeah, like Fell-handed has 3 other options. All right, well, Spearmaster has 3 other options. So Flail and Blade only give you 2 other things that you can do besides the +1 to hit. But I like...
Yeah, they kind of mixed it up.
It's still... Yeah, each one... Other than like some of the variant builds we've seen with classes and stuff like that, like each one of these feats feels very distinct.
Well, here's the thing: like the Spiel Mastery, 2 of those things are not very. They're utility, and it's going to be based on circumstances, and you're giving up your bonus action to do them. So I feel like that's why, like, you know, setting to receive a charge, how often is that happening in combat? You know, and if it does happen, like once per combat max, probably. And the other one is, well, you can gain reach, but what does reach really do for you?
Well, so I mean, reach can be handy, and especially with like the Sentinel feat. But and if you were the Battle Master that also can expend a dice, like I wonder if you could double reach it, like. Do that twice to get an
I would probably allow it. Well, it's lunge, so that's different. It's not actually...
It says, you know, it increases your reach by 5 feet for the rest of the turn. So I wouldn't see why you couldn't double up on those types of situations.
10 feet of extra things. So I mean, that's pretty utilitarian. And also, there's certain classes that don't get a lot of economy of action, where like the bonus actions rarely used with a lot of classes. Like the fighter, unless they're fighting with an offhand, there's not a lot of usage of it. So you could go spear and shield, or just be a spear fighter, and have a cool nifty secondary option. To do
I absolutely agree with that. I was going to mention that these feats do wind up reaching into your bonus actions, your reactions. So it's giving you things that you can do.
Yeah, because the reaction, like, it never, unless somebody triggers the reaction never gets used. Spellcasters can do some cool stuff.
Well, you know, actually, the awesome thing though about Spear Mastery is, you know, it really does bumps the damage die of the weapon, like making it a much better choice. Yeah. Because, you know, mechanically it's inferior, but yet historically the spear has won and lost wars.
Absolutely.
You know, because it's such a
utilitarian weapon.
Well, and just easy to make out of. You could sharpen the end of a piece of wood, a plank of wood or whatever.
Yeah.
And
well,
easy
to make, easy to use.
Yeah. Tree branches is, you know, kind of the beginning spears for a lot.
You can use a lot. You can use them. Use a lot of them in a tight pack space. So yeah. So it really is. You know, it was probably one of the earliest innovations to war.
Right. And the actual increasing reach, having done the Arma fighting that I've done, I've actually seen that in use. Both, you know, me against an opponent, you know, using it, as well as it being used against me. So it's definitely a legit thing.
Yeah, although I feel like in a game like D&D where it's not it's an abstract, it's not simulation. Right. So you know, mechanically the benefit is meh. You know what I mean? There's some instances where it will be useful, but it's not overwhelmingly so.
True.
Not like 3rd edition where it was a big deal to have reach.
Right. But in a situation where
you need an extra 5 feet.
You need an extra feet. It's awesome, and to actually have seen it used.
See, here's the thing: like there are de facto feat trees because you spear mastery and you take sentry, like
sentinel,
or sentinel. That's it. Those two things, like that's a feat tree because like if you're gonna take sentry and use a spear, there's no way you're not taking spear mastery.
No, absolutely.
So it's basically as a de facto feat tree.
True.
Yeah. So just pointing that out.
Can't argue with that logic. So, so in addition to the weapons, we also get tools. Which the tools feats are actually really cool. You know, one basically is, hey, you want to be a thief without being a thief? Here you go, burglar.
Yeah. Now
you do have to wear a black domino mask and a red and white stripes, black and white striped shirt and a red cape and a black hat.
But other than that,
and say "robble" occasionally.
Now the interesting thing about these setups is I'm looking at what happens if you're going to take these playing with either a bard or a thief. Because it's like, oh, well, if you've already got proficiency, you get expertise and you get advantage. So I really feel that you know, especially with the burglar and the master of disguise. No, sorry, the master of disguise doesn't get. Oh yeah, there it is. Like people are going to really like. All right,
can you really double up?
I don't know. I wouldn't allow double. Like I think you can only technically have expertise once, in my opinion.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, all right, I'm a thief.
You're the T word.
I take rogue.
Or are you saying you have a bunch of expertises?
No. Like I take rogue, and
what are you saying, Ted?
I take rogue, and I'm proficient. And I'm proficient with thieves' tools. I then take the burglar, which now gives me the double the proficiency bonus. I'm sorry. Never mind. Yes.
It's not going anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. I thought I had read something.
It's an extra
that
expertise.
It was giving you advantage as well. So
no expertise.
Yeah, expertise. Yeah, these are pretty cool. Like the alchemist. The only thing that like I'm kind of about is like, why is it specific to healing potions? Like, shouldn't it be like all kinds of potions? Like maybe they get some sort of benefit, like maybe it's whatever they roll as if there was like a +1, so it's more utilitarian than that just one instance of like, oh, just this one type of thing you're good with.
Or maybe it should be anytime dice are involved, you can get the maximum for the dice. Because there is some that, like Fire Breath is another one where you do damage and you roll dice.
I like that concept. I think the fact that in the player's handbook, the only thing that really is listed as a potion is the healing potion.
Yeah.
Therefore,
well, you know what? Maybe when there's a numerical thing, like you can get the reroll 1s and 2s or something like that.
That is definitely in the flavor of 5e.
Yeah, I mean, because that's like the great weapon master fighter thing is rerolling the 1s and 2s on the die, and you get to do that.
I would be perfectly okay with anything with the numerical value. Use that or random to maximize it. It's once per short rest, and you have to have the thing to use it on.
Yeah.
And frankly, I don't even think there's that many in the DMG that it's going to affect.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just me. I'm like, the way it's written to me seems okay. It's cool because all the tool proficiencies also give you a stat bump, and then they do some interesting things. Nothing is particularly game breaking. Boris Stremlin, he had brought up the fact that we were talking about how the thief is the expert of 5th edition, except for like certain builds seem weird because sneak attack doesn't really work. And after reading this, he's like, well, this is actually this is the perfect way to build an expert type character using feats that involve tools and if you can do it with tools, if you can do it with weapons, why not also skills at some point? Who knows what's gonna come out later on.
So overall, we got just over four pages. I'm pretty happy with what it's being presented as. Not only do we get a bunch of new options, but it gives us the tools to really say why these are good feats and why others aren't.
Right, to help people along that are posting in the Dungeon Masters Guild who are going to be trying to make stuff.
Or just people who are doing stuff in their own
Their homebrew as well, yeah, for sure.
So 7 new feats plus the design philosophy, good stuff. More tools in our DM toolbox, more options as the players. All in all, this is one of the better Unearthed Arcana.
Well, you know what? The funny thing is, so there were ones where like there's whole class designs, which are so much more work. But like when you look at them and you're like, well, I mean, they didn't really execute on some of them, like,
right? Or you're like, oh, here's only 5 levels, or here's 10 levels. Like, this can go right into my game and make my game better. The Rune Scribe. That Unearthed Arcana right in my game, make my game better.
Yeah.
The Variant Ranger,
the Mystic,
And
like
there was
the mounted.
cool.
What was there was a mounted warrior. What was the Cavalier maybe?
Oh, they were fighting styles.
Okay, those fighting styles were like some of them were too samey, didn't really feel that unique.
Oh no, not fighting styles. They were the different archetypes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, where they weren't executed on as well, and like I was like, yeah, they can go right in your game, but only if someone wants to play them, use them. Like where this is really cool. I like this. I thought that it was done well. Good job, Mike Mearls.
I agree. Yeah. So, what do you guys think? Are you all on board with us giving these the thumbs up? Put your comments down below. While you're at it, like, share, even subscribe.
You can find us over on Snapchat.
Check us out at nerdarchy.com.
So until next time, stay nerdy. You can do this or you cannot. It adds a little bit of flavor. It adds a little bit of options. So like, I feel that they're not going to focus on it because it's not.
I think the majority of people that are playing 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons are playing with feats.
Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
Because it's the closest stopgap between 3rd edition, which a lot of people liked, and that the tightening of rules. Like 5th edition feels like something between 2nd edition Dungeons & Dragons.
There might be some old
grognards
grognards out there that have come over from AD&D and are like, no variant human, no feats, blah blah blah. But I think the majority of us are probably using the optional rules.
It's true, and I'm not saying that.
And you guys can weigh in on that discussion in the comments.
I'm just saying, with them presenting it as an optional feature, that they're not going to focus on it, and that we had to wait this long to get
Well, clearly we had to wait this long because we waited this long.
I mean, it was worth the price of admission, right?
So here's the thing. There's some really cool and important things that came out of this Unearthed Arcana, aside from the fact that we got another, 5 or 6 feats. One is, like, Mike Mearls is like, we're not doing feat trees anymore. Right. Nerdarchy has already said, we'll do feat trees, right? We're like, whatever, we don't care. If that's how a player wants to spend his resources, let him.
Indeed.
So there's a glaring difference between the Watts design philosophy. Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with a couple nerds.
I'm Ted.
I'm Ryan.
And today we are going to be reviewing Unearthed Arcana feats.
If you want to jump down to the description below, you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter. It's a great way to get gaming tips as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So finally, at long last, we have more feats to draw from. This has been the glaring, short sight of 5e so far.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it a short sighting.
Dude, we came from an era of playing our most serious D&D. The most D&D we've ever played in our life was basically...
It was all about the feat
feats,
tree. All the feat trees.
Feat-centric.
Well, I think they moved away from that with feats being an optional system. It's like, look,